kind of been a tough month for SpaceX, huh, Amon?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been down, down, down. Around about July 13, 14, I think they broke issue, meaning they traded below their IPO price for the first time. When that happens, a lot of people just sell. There's some short interest accumulating in the stock. That doesn't help. You know what I think might have taken some of the wind out of their sails is Meta. We talked about Meta last week announcing that they were getting into the leasing business as well with their capacity. Some investors may fear like that's going to put some pressure on pricing as well. So some combination of all those things has taken them down to about a $1.6 trillion market cap today.
The IPO priced at 1.8. They're now at 1.6. Looking at a news item from last week, short sellers had bought the company short. I guess they're about 28% of the available stock is short sellers. That's quite a big portion. Overall, the company has dropped $1 trillion in value from its peak. I mean, I don't know if that's real money. That's really just more since the company started trading, but that is a notable drop in value. I guess some good news, SpaceX is in talks to provide computing power to the Pentagon, similar to the deals that SpaceX pulled together with Anthropic and Google for renting out compute and AI models. That I guess is potentially good news. I would imagine there's quite a bit of revenue they could unlock from providing that to the AI if they do put that together. But what's your take on kind of the overall SpaceX story, Aman? Are we coming back to Earth? Do you think there's more fall to happen, or are we kind of stabilizing?
You know, what happened was I think they didn't do a lot of price discovery at the start, remember? So they priced at 135.
Hardly at all.
Yeah, and a very limited roadshow with no range. And then the first tick was 150. And then the next trade is over 200. And then, the market cap looked like 2.8 trillion very briefly, but that was also just a lot of retail demand, and I think it's settled. When you price that aggressively in an IPO and you pop, sometimes it just corrects. The fundamentals, though, I don't know where the next support is. They're 119, $120 a share. I guess $100. I mean, the technical traders will probably tell me if I'm wrong, but I think at $100 a share, there's going to be some support. 135 was the IPO price. That might be more of a ceiling. It may be in that range for a while. But the fundamentals you just described look good. They're doing Q2 earnings in first week of August. If they announce, progress on revenues and sign a deal with the Pentagon, Department of War, and maybe other deals like with Reflection or others, that could provide some help to the stock. But I think overall it's been a tough market too. Tech is trading off a little bit. There's been noise around AI. Meta's jumping in the space. So I think it's just a little bit of a tough market, and my guess is it'll be very volatile and bounce around between 100 and 135 for a while. The first lockup will come out in middle of August. That'll be the first release of shares. So, that may affect some of the supply as well.
I guess we'll have to see, and maybe with the earnings announcement, there might provide a little bit more clarity on where the company will go after that. And then I guess we'll have a little bit of an unlock after that earning announcement, sometime late August, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's 5 days after the earnings release. 20% of select investors will come unlock. That'll be the first wave of selling. But all those investors had a chance to sell in prior tender offers and didn't do it. And so we'll see if there's going to be a lot of selling. I suspect at the current price, it'll be pretty limited. But I think it'll be just it's a volatile ride. And I think if they release good news around new deals to be signed in their AI business, that's maybe a catalyst for the price to bounce back above their IPO price.
Well, moving on to other news, Anthropic seems to be getting ready for an IPO, and that might happen in Q4, possibly as soon as October. They're starting to talk with bankers, including Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan. Really haven't seen any updates to their revenue numbers. I think the last time we heard some revenue numbers from them was probably at the end of May, doing maybe $47 billion annualized. People seem to be, thinking that the company will do $100 billion by the end of the year. Do you think that they're growing as fast as they were, or there's potentially some slowdown ahead?
It's interesting that they haven't released a new revenue number, an ARR number. We're July 20th, so we're 20 days past the end of June. You would think they have that number already. They haven't announced it. So if they're adding $7 billion in ARR a month, so absolute numbers are adding the same amount of revenue or ARR every month, and they're now in the, let's call it mid-50s and on their way to, as you say, 100 by the end of the year, and they can guide to that number, I think this is a $2 trillion, maybe even a $3 trillion IPO waiting to happen, because at that level, they're going to be profitable. The gross margins are 65 to 70%. Most of that new revenue is inference. there is noise around, these Chinese open weight models or open weight models in general, whether that's putting price pressure on. But I think right now those frontier economics seem to be just, they never speak for themselves. So it seems like that's all a reasonable timeline. The market is just, I think they are probably talking to investors now just to dial in the valuation, and assuming those conversations go well, I would not be surprised to see an October listing for them.